Yes, yes you can. If you have a carpal tunnel injury where you need to have a carpal tunnel release, or you need to have restrictions for a carpal tunnel due to overuse of your hand, yes, that is compensable through work comp. Now, with that said, it can generally be a more difficult injury to prove, because as I kind of explained to people, that's not necessarily always an acute injury or a boom injury. It's not an injury where you trip and fall at work and a bone sticking out of your leg. Those are a lot more obvious. Carpal tunnel lots of time is a repetitive injury, or as we call them, Gillette injuries, where it's kind of repetitive trauma or doing repetitive acts at work that cause this type of injury. And so with that said, I generally tell people, explain to your doctor, if you get diagnosed with carpal tunnel and they're recommending a carpal tunnel release, or they're giving you restrictions for it, I generally tell people to speak to your doctor, explain to them, your work activities or what you do on a daily basis at work, at home, and explain to them kind of your life and when these symptoms started to arise. And then explain to your doctor, and I'd ask your doctor, hey doctor, do you believe that this carpal tunnel is from my work activities, after you've explained to them. If your doctor's supportive of that, then yes, then I'd suggest, filing a work comp claim as soon as you're aware that you believe this is from your work from your work activities. So as soon as you believe that, this carpal tunnel, or as soon as, a reasonable person is the standard, believes that this carpal tunnel is from a work injury, then you should report it to your employer, report it like you would a broken bone to your employer and say, file a first report of injury and start a work comp claim indicating that I believe my work, my carpal tunnel is a work injury. You can see lots of times you'll see repetitive use of, shoulder injuries, where it's not necessarily, as I call them, boom injuries or acute injuries, where a bone's sticking out or something where it's blatantly obvious. Generally, Gillette injuries, Gillette's our fancy term for repetitive trauma injuries. And we see that a lot with shoulders, where people are pushing and pulling things over and over and over again at work. Then, they, tear a rotator cuff, or they have, thoracic outlet syndrome or something where they're having problems with their shoulder, where it doesn't happen just boom one day. It's something that comes, it was sore for a month, or it's been sore for a couple months and finally it got so bad. Or, you see that with any type of, job duties where you're doing repetitive motions a lot. Those generally will cause these type of, Gillette injuries. And in general, Gillette injuries are tougher to prove because they're not as, blatant and straightforward. So that's where I'd say, if you believe it's from a work injury, make sure you explain that to your doctor. Make sure you ask your doctor, hey, this is what I do at work. I believe these are connected, and if you believe that, then I'd file a, first report of injury with your employer. Inform your employer not only did you have this injury, but that it's a work injury, and then start a claim with your, your work comp insurer. Then if, lots of times these type of claims do get denied because they are a little tougher to prove. And if they get denied, that's then a good time to talk to an attorney to see if that's something that you need to hire them for and if it's a claim that they can bring.